A catastrophic firestorm ravages the United States, setting off a devastating chain of destruction. As cities fall and the nation plunges into chaos, desperate survivors embark on a perilous journey to safety, battling not just the flames, but a collapsing society. Let's dive into this harrowing tale of survival. The movie begins by introducing Will, our hero, and Sam, our heroine, who are deeply in love but not yet married. They live together and are waiting for Sam's father, Tom, to give his permission for them to tie the knot. During this time, Sam discovers she is pregnant. A visit to the doctor confirms the exciting news. She is expecting a baby boy. Sam's parents live far away, about 2,000 kilometers from where Sam and Will stay. Will decides to visit them and talk to her father face to face. He plans to express his love for Sam, tell them about her pregnancy, and ask for permission to marry her. Before leaving, Sam warns Will not to mention a specific incident involving her father's boat. She feels that bringing it up will only upset her dad. Trusting her advice, Will promises to avoid the topic, and Sam sends him off, hoping everything will go smoothly. When Will arrives at her parents' house, he is greeted by Sam's mom, who speaks to him politely and kindly. However, Sam's dad, Tom, seems distant and not particularly interested in talking to Will. Despite this, Tom offers Will a drink, and they sit down together, making small talk over their drinks. As they chat, Will struggles to figure out how to bring up the reason for his visit. His eyes wander around the room, and he notices some framed photographs on the wall. To keep the conversation going, he starts asking questions about the photos. Then by chance, he notices a picture of a boat. Without thinking, Will comments, "I can never forget that boat." This was the very topic Sam had warned him not to mention. The moment Will brings it up, Tom's expression changes. He becomes angry and tells Will, "Don't ever bring that up again. What happened to that boat was a disaster, and I don't want to hear about it." It turns out that years ago, Will and Tom used to spend time together at sea on Tom's boat. One day while they were out, Will had been drinking a soft drink and in a careless moment took over steering the boat. Unfortunately, he lost control and the boat sank. That incident had hurt Tom deeply, and in memory of the lost boat, he had built a small toy replica of it, which now sat in the house as a painful reminder. Later that evening, during dinner, Tom decides to get to the point. He tells Will, "Look, I have a son and a daughter. When my son got married, I made sure that his wife signed an agreement before the wedding. The agreement stated that if they ever faced problems, she couldn't make any claim on my property. I've done the same with my daughter. If you want to marry Sam, you'll also have to sign an agreement. My property belongs to my children, and you won't have any right to it." After hearing Tom's demand about signing the agreement, Will stays calm at first and replies, "I don't need your property because I earn very well. I'm a lawyer, and I can provide for Sam myself." But then Tom, clearly annoyed, retorts, "You may be a lawyer, but for the past 7 months, you've been sitting at home without a job. It's my daughter who's been covering all your expenses." Tom's harsh words hit a nerve, and Will, unable to hold back his anger, starts arguing with him. The tension in the room rises quickly, and just as things seem like they might escalate, Sam's mother, Paula, steps in. She calmly but firmly says, "Son-in-law, you've had too much to drink. Please leave before this turns into an even bigger argument. We don't need any more trouble tonight." Realizing there's no point in continuing, Will storms out of the house and heads to a nearby hotel. Exhausted, he falls asleep and doesn't wake up until late the next morning. His phone rings and it's Sam calling him. She says, "Will, do you even know what time it is?" Panicked, he checks the clock and realizes he's overslept. "It's time for my flight," he exclaims, jumping out of bed. As they talk on a video call, Will notices something strange on Sam's end. He hears unusual noises in the background and asks, "What's that sound?" "It's like someone screaming." Sam looks worried and says, "I don't know. Something's wrong here. Let me check." Suddenly, the video call cuts off, leaving Will alarmed and confused. He tries calling her back, but the signal doesn't connect. Now deeply worried about Sam, Will rushes to the airport, determined to get back to her. Sam lives in a city called Settle, and Will is desperate to catch a flight there. However, when he arrives at the airport, he finds chaos. All flights heading to Settle have been canceled. He checks the news on a TV at the terminal, and reporters announce that there is a problem in the city, but no one knows what's happening. The broadcast ends abruptly, and even the TV channels go offline. To make matters worse, phone networks and internet signals completely stop working. Confused and anxious, Will doesn't know what to do next. He heads outside the airport and tries to hitch a ride, but the drivers refuse to help. Desperate, he offers one driver 10,000 hero gems as payment for the ride. The driver agrees and Will hops into the car. While on the way, he calls Tom and tells him about the strange situation in Settle. Tom and Paula, equally worried, tell him they're packing their bags to find Sam as well. Will eventually reaches Tom and Paula's house, where he finds them preparing to leave. They're just as clueless as Will about what's happening to Sam. After a brief discussion, they decide on a plan. Paula will stay at their son's house for safety, while Will and Tom head to settle together to find Sam and figure out what's going on. After deciding to search for Sam, Will and Tom notice 2 army jets flying overhead. This confirms their suspicions that something serious is happening and the military's involved. They drop Paula off at her son's house for safety and then set off in their car to find Sam. As they travel, they encounter a long line of vehicles on the road. After slowly making their way through the traffic, they stop at a petrol station to refuel. While Will fills up the car, Tom says, "I'll go grab some food." Will not only fills the car but also pours extra petrol into several small cans since they have to cover nearly 2,000 kilometers. While Will is busy, a girl approaches him and asks for a lift. He refuses, saying, "I'm really busy right now." She gets upset and starts arguing with him, saying, "How can you talk to me like this, especially in front of others?" Suddenly, a gang of hooligans shows up, backing her up. They threaten Will, saying, "Give us money or we'll break your car." Will tries to stay calm and says, "Fine, I'll give you the money." But before he can act, Tom returns from the shop and asks, "What's going on here?" The gang turns their threats toward Tom too, but Tom remains calm. He tells them, "I have money in the car's trunk." Tom, who used to be a military officer, always carries a gun with him. He quietly retrieves it from the trunk and shows it to the gang. Seeing the gun, the hooligans quickly run away. Will and Tom get back into the car and drive off. As they leave, Will asks, "Why didn't you tell me earlier that you had a gun in the car?" Tom replies, "If I had told you, they might have taken the car and the gun. Then how would we find Sam?" As they continue their journey, they reach the city border, where they see many vehicles stopped. Military officers are blocking the road and not allowing anyone to cross. Tom steps out and talks to the officers. He shows them his military ID and uses his influence to convince them to let his car through. Although hesitant, the officers finally allow only Tom's car to pass. While driving, they spot a military train moving along the tracks. It is loaded with weapons, and Tom comments, "There's definitely a big problem. We need to hurry." Will drives through the night without stopping, determined to reach Sam as quickly as possible. As Will and Tom drive through the night, they notice a police car following them. The car signals for them to pull over, so Will stops the car on the side of the road. Will is about to step out when Tom suddenly realizes something is off. He notices that the driver of the car isn't a policeman, but a thief who has killed the police officers and stolen their vehicle. Tom immediately shouts, "He's not a policeman!" Hearing this, Will tries to run back to the car, but the thief catches him. The thief demands their car and petrol, threatening them. Tom quickly reverses the car, trying to hit the thief, but the man manages to escape. Now the thief jumps into his stolen car and starts chasing them. The situation becomes tense as the thief follows them closely, driving fast. Meanwhile, Tom decides it's time to teach Will how to use a gun. He gives Will quick instructions on how to load the gun, aim, and fire. Despite the stressful situation, Tom patiently encourages Will to stay calm and focus. Will tries to shoot at the thief, but his shots miss, and the thief continues to chase them. As the pursuit continues, they encounter a herd of deer suddenly running across the road. Startled, Will swerves the car to avoid hitting them. In the chaos, the car spins out of control and crashes into a tree. After the crash, everything goes silent. For a moment, it's unclear what happened to Will and Tom as they both lie motionless in the wrecked car. After the car crash, the thief catches up to them and points a gun at Will, threatening him. Just as things seem hopeless, Tom sneaks up from behind and hits the thief on the head with a large stone, killing him. With their car badly damaged from the crash, Tom and Will decide to take the thief's stolen police car. Tom ties the car to their car and tows it along as they drive away. A while later, they come across a small mechanic shop on the side of the road. They stop and meet a woman named Ricky, who is the mechanic there. Tom explains their situation and asks for help fixing their car. Ricky, seeing their desperation, agrees to help without charging them any money. She works quickly and repairs their car. While they wait, Tom and Will notice something strange about Ricky's living situation. The man who is staying with her, someone she calls her father, doesn't treat her kindly. It soon becomes clear that this man isn't her real father, but someone abusive. He yells at her and treats her poorly, which bothers Tom and Will. As they prepare to leave, they notice something unusual in the sky. Hundreds of birds flying together in a strange, chaotic pattern. This makes Tom even more worried about what might be happening in the city. Despite the pain in his back from the crash and the possibility of a fractured bone, Tom remains focused on one thing: saving his daughter, Sam. Before leaving, Tom speaks to Ricky. He says, "Why are you staying with someone who treats you so badly? This isn't a good place for you. Come with us. There's a chance our car might break down again, and we could really use your help. Once we reach the city, I'll help you find a good job." Ricky hesitates. "I don't even know you," she says. "And on top of that, you're driving a stolen police car. "How do I know you're not criminals?" Tom replies, "We're not thieves. My name is Tom, and this is my son-in-law, Will. We're trying to save my daughter, Sam. She's in trouble, and we need to get to her as quickly as possible. If you trust me, I promise to pay you 4,000 euros for your help." Ricky frowns and shakes her head. "Number, if you want me to come with you, I want 100,000 euros. Tom sighs and looks at Will. After a moment of thought, they agree to her demand. "Fine," Tom says, 100,000 euros, but you'll have to bring your tools and help us if the car breaks down again." Satisfied, Ricky packs her mechanical tools and climbs into the car with them. With Ricky now part of the group, they set off together, determined to reach the city and save Sam. While driving, Will tells Tom about his friend Mac, who is also a close friend of Sam's. He suggests stopping at Mac's house for help. As Will drives, a car suddenly comes from the opposite direction, and they accidentally crash into it. The accident is severe, and some people in the other car lose their lives. They discover that one man is still alive but critically injured. Tom assesses the situation and says, "There's no hospital nearby, and even if we took him, the equipment there might not work. He only has about half an hour to live. We can't do anything for him." He insists they leave and tells Will to get back in the car. Ricky, however, refuses to abandon the man and stays behind to help. As she tends to him, another car arrives, and a group of armed goons gets out. Sensing danger, Will quickly starts the car and drives away, but Tom stops him, saying, "We can't leave Ricky behind." Ricky manages to escape the goons and runs back to the car, jumping in just in time. They drive away as fast as they can, narrowly avoiding further trouble. As they continue their journey, they reach a village, only to find the entrance blocked by villagers. It turns out thieves had recently caused trouble in the area, so the villagers blocked the roads to keep their community safe. As Will, Tom, and Ricky approach the village, a policeman stops their car and warns them there's no petrol, water, or supplies available in the area. He advises them to turn back, but Will insists, saying his best friend Mac lives there and they've come to visit her. To prove he's not lying, he suggests the officer send someone with them. The policeman agrees and sends 4 men to accompany them. When they reach Mac's house, she comes out, hugs Will, and confirms their story, allowing the policeman to leave. Mac is distraught because her husband went to a nearby village and hasn't returned. Will and Tom comfort her, saying he'll likely be back soon. Despite her worries, they gather supplies, petrol, water, and food, and continue their journey. As they drive, they pass through burned villages and forests where they see people fleeing with their belongings. Soon they hear a woman crying for help. Will wants to stop, but Tom advises against it, urging him to stay focused. Ignoring Tom, Will gets out to help, but a man suddenly appears behind the woman, pointing a gun at Will and stopping their car. The thief demands all their petrol and even hits Will. Tom tries to intervene, but collapses due to his worsening back injury. The thief escapes in their car with a small petrol can, ignoring Will's pleas to leave them some fuel. Determined not to give up, the group follows the thief, puncturing his car's tire. The thief's car overturns, spilling petrol, which ignites and causes an explosion. The thief and his accomplices are caught in the fire and die screaming. The sight of the burning thieves deeply affects Ricky. Overwhelmed by the violence, she has an emotional breakdown and refuses to continue the journey. She insists on staying behind, leaving Will and Tom to continue without her. As they press on, Tom's health deteriorates further, and both men begin to fear he might not survive much longer. As they continue their journey, Will decides to speak to Tom. "I came here to talk to you about something important," Will says hesitantly. Tom looks at him knowingly and replies, "Yes, I know what you're going to say." Surprised, Will stammers, "You do?" Tom smiles and says, "Yes, I know you're going to be a father, and my daughter Sam is going to be a mother. There's a baby boy growing in her womb." Will is stunned. "Oh my God, how do you know this? Did Sam tell you?" Tom chuckles and explains, "After you left the house that day, Sam called Paula and told her everything. I'm going to be a grandfather, and I just know my grandson will look just like me." Tom says this with so much joy that it softens the tension between them. Will, feeling a weight lift off his chest, asks for Tom's blessing to marry Sam. Tom looks at him warmly and says, "You've proven yourself to be capable of protecting my daughter. You're a good man, Will, and you're worthy of becoming my son-in-law." As Tom finishes speaking, he suddenly collapses, losing consciousness. Will panics, calling out to him, but Tom only mutters softly, unable to open his eyes. Before Will can fully process what's happening, they approach a bridge. 2 cars appear ahead and behind them, blocking the way. A motorcycle pulls up on the side, and a group of armed goons steps out of the vehicles, surrounding them. Tom, regaining some composure, weakly instructs Will, "Reverse the car! Get us out of here!" Will quickly puts the car in reverse and accelerates. The gang begins chasing them, with the bikers leading the pursuit. Will grabs the gun Tom had given him earlier and, summoning his courage, shoots at the bikers, managing to take them down. As Will drives, two cars from the front and back try to ram his vehicle. Despite his intense pain, Tom grabs the gun, steadies himself, and tells Will to wait for his signal. At the right moment, Tom yells, and Will swerves the car while Tom shoots at the pursuing vehicles, giving them just enough time to escape through a nearby village. Relieved, Will says, "Thank God, we barely made it." But when he glances at Tom, he realizes he has passed away. Devastated, Will continues driving until the petrol runs out. He uses the remaining petrol in the cannon to drive a few more kilometers. Knowing he can't leave Tom's body in the open, Will decides to give him a proper farewell. He burns the car along with Tom's body, performing the last rites in silence before continuing on foot. Will tries to hitch a ride, but most vehicles ignore him. Finally, a car stops, and the driver, armed with a gun, gets out. Will pleads, "Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just trying to get to Shatter City to find my girlfriend. I need your help." The man agrees to give him a lift, but demands Will's gun in exchange. Reluctantly, Will hands it over. As Will gets into the car, he notices the man's wife and daughter sitting in the back seat. He suspects there's a reason why the man stopped. It turns out the driver has been behind the wheel for 18 hours straight and is exhausted. He offers Will the ride in exchange for help with the driving. On the way, Will asks to stop at his father's house. They arrive and Will calls out from the front door, but there's no response. He retrieves the house key hidden in a power outlet and lets them in. He shows them an upstairs room to rest, then checks the kitchen, where he finds a large supply of food that could last 10 to 15 days. Will tells the man, "You can use all of this. There's an old car in the garage you can repair and take with you. I've also stored some petrol here. You can stay as long as you need, but I need your vehicle for 15 days and 15 liters of petrol to continue my journey." Grateful for the hospitality, the man agrees. Before leaving, Will retrieves his gun and discovers there's only one bullet left. He takes the vehicle and drives for hours until he finally reaches the seashore, determined to continue his mission to find Sam in Shatter City. Will finally reaches Shatter City, only to find it completely destroyed. The city is in ruins, with smoke rising everywhere and ashes covering the ground. To get there, he has to cross a bridge where many vehicles are abandoned, all filled with ash. The air is suffocating, so he finds a mask in one of the cars and puts it on before moving forward. As he passes through the wreckage, he sees dead bodies in the cars, making it hard to keep going. When he finally arrives at Sam's apartment, he climbs the stairs, only to find that she isn't there. Heartbroken, he looks out over the ruined city, assuming Sam is dead. Just as he is about to leave, he notices something written on a pile of rubble near the apartment. "I am living in the middle of the forest. Come and meet me." Realizing Sam is alive, Will breathes a sigh of relief and sets off to find her. After reaching the forest, Will spots a cabin. As he approaches, a man steps out with a gun and orders him to stop. The man is a jailman and Sam's neighbor, who has been helping her during this time. Before things escalate, Sam comes out, sees Will, and shouts his name. She runs to him, and they embrace, overwhelmed with emotion. Tears flow as they kiss, thankful to finally be reunited. Later that night, inside the cabin, the two share stories and reflect on the tragedy that has unfolded. They become emotional, mourning the lives lost in the city, but are grateful to have found each other and their unborn child safe. That night, Will, Sam, and the jailman sit together, and Will asks what happened to Shatter City. The jailman says he doesn't know for sure, but Sam guesses it might have been a natural disaster. The jailman disagrees, claiming that an atomic bomb was dropped on the city and warning that it could happen again. Will refuses to believe this, insisting it must have been a natural disaster. The conversation becomes tense, but Will decides to end it, saying they should all get some sleep. The next morning, Will wakes up and finds the jailman searching through his car. Suspicious, Will asks what he's doing. The jailman quickly denies taking anything and says, "There were 2 kids here earlier, and they left something behind. Come with me, I'll show you." Will follows him deep into the forest, but after walking for a while, he grows uneasy and asks, "Where are the kids?" "I don't see anyone." The jailman suddenly reveals his true intentions, saying, "Why did you even come here? You should have stayed where you were. I love Sam now, and she's mine. I told her you were dead and you'd never come back." Angry and shocked, Will confronts him, but the jailman pulls out a gun, threatening to kill him. Will reacts quickly, drawing his own gun and shooting the jailman in the chest with his last bullet, killing him. As Will hears strange sounds from the forest, he hurries back to the cabin. He grabs Sam and tells her what happened, explaining, "The jailman tried to kill me, so I had to shoot him." They quickly get into the car, but just as they start driving, a volcanic eruption occurs on a nearby mountain. The fire spreads rapidly, and the ground shakes violently. Will drives as fast as he can, narrowly escaping the flames. In the end, love and determination save Will and Sam. The two drive away safely, leaving the chaos behind, ready to face whatever comes next together.